In this lesson, we're going to learn about if statements. Now, I'm going to open up the main.lua file, and I've already cleared the contents of this. But if you haven't, you can just select all the text and then just hit backspace to clear it. The if statement is probably the most important thing that you will use more than anything else in programming, and it's really simple. Let's start by declaring a variable n equals 1, and then we're just going to say if n equals greater than 0, then, and then we'll close it with the end statement, and then we add some code in the middle. And so this is a condition, and this code that we're going to write right now, this only gets executed if this condition is true. So I'm going to execute some code. I'm going to call the print command, and I'm going to make it print the word positive. So n equals 1. If n is greater than 0, then print the word positive. Let's see what that does. There it is. It says positive. Okay. So that's simple enough. We can also, it doesn't have to be a greater than or less than statement. We can also use a Boolean. So like, let's say health equals 100. Or no, let's actually say player alive equals true. Okay. So this is a Boolean variable, and we can just say if player alive, which is the same thing. Since that's already true, this is a condition. Then we can say alive. We don't have to print something here. We could also execute some code that would control the player movement or something like that. But let's just see what that does. And yeah, it says he's alive. Okay, cool. N equals 1. Okay, so if n is greater than 0, print positive. Okay. We have something else called an else statement. And so we can have an alternative for that condition. If we just put else here like that, then it will test to see if n is greater than 0. And if it's not, if it is, then it will execute this code here. If it's not, then it will execute whatever code we put here. So let's say print negative. Let's try that. Okay, it prints positive. What if we set n to -1? Then it's going to say if n is greater than 0, is -1 greater than 0? No. So it's not going to execute this code. Instead, it will see this else statement, and it will execute this code instead. If it works, let's see what happens. Yep, and it says negative. Well, what about if we have the case of, what if n is equal to 0? Well, that's not right, because 0 isn't really a positive number or a negative number. It's just 0. If you picture a number line with positive numbers on the right and negative numbers on the left, 0 is right in the center, and it doesn't really go in one direction or the other. So it's not really positive or negative, it's just 0. Well, to handle this, we can use the else if statement. And this is just a combination of else and if. And it's just one word like that. So we can say else if n is greater than 0, then print negative. Okay. Well, now it just didn't print anything because neither of these statements were true. N is not greater than 0. N is not less than 0. N is equal to 0. We can add another else statement here. And this will just pick up everything else that could occur. So in other words, if this condition is not met, n is not greater than 0, and this condition is not met, n is not less than 0, then for everything else, every other case, it will just execute this code. So let's try that. And there it is. It prints 0. So this is our if statement with an else if and an else statement. And it handles 0, it handles positive numbers, and it handles negative numbers. So that's the if statement. You will be using this a lot in programming. It's very, very powerful, and it's also really, really simple.